most important programs. Social Security, which provides a financial lifeline for hard-working American retirees and the disabled. And Medicare, which provides health care to older Americans. Specifically, we are proud today to be joined by U.S. Senator Whitehouse to support the Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act. S. 1174 is passed into law. It would greatly extend the life of Social Security and Medicare by requiring taxpayers that make over $400,000 to pay more than their fair share to Social Security and Medicare. To close a loophole that high-income earners with pass-through businesses, such as hedge funds, exploit so that they do not pay their fair share into Social Security and Medicare. We are joined today by the bill's Senate sponsor, Senator Whitehouse. We also have in attendance, and I'm sure we have lots of folks, but one I wanted to point out is the former Senator Cindy Coyne, who's the Executive Director of the Senior Aging Coalition. And as I said prior to this, we wanted this time, I'd like to, personally, I love seeing the Senator on news all the time talking about the Supreme Court, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are grateful that Senator Whitehouse, who also serves as chair of the Senate Budget Committee, has focused on protecting these vital programs so many Americans depend on. Without further delay, it is my pleasure to call upon Senator Sheldon Whitehouse to speak on this very important issue.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. It is very, very nice to be back at AFSCME headquarters. Many dozens of visits over many years, and it's terrific to be here on this occasion. Let me also recognize Michael Connolly, who's the president of the AFSCME retirees, and who, as I said earlier, I think grilled more hamburgers for my original campaign than any other human being. And Roger Boudreau and John Pernorio from the Alliance for Retired Americans. I also want to recognize my friend of many years, Cindy Coyne, who served with great distinction in the state Senate. And we are here because Medicare and Social Security continue to be under threat. They are twin pillars of economic fairness in our country, so they should not be under threat, but they continually are. You may have noticed President Biden's State of the Union address, where he called out Republican attacks on Social Security and Medicare, which caused the Republicans to all jump up and deny that that was happening with a great deal of outrage. And he was able to say, oh, good, we have unanimity. We can put cuts to Social Security and Medicare aside. Well, that didn't last very long, because I held a hearing on this bill in the Senate Budget Committee, which allows the Republicans to bring in a witness of their own. And the Republican witness on this bill complained that Social Security payments were too high. Think about that for a moment. I do not know what world he lives in. As I go around Rhode Island and speak to seniors, nobody has said their Social Security payments are too high. If anything, they're worried about the COLA adjustments and whether they're keeping up. That's what I hear all the time. So we need to solidify these programs. They are within sight of going cash neutral and not being able to fund themselves any longer except with incoming funds. And if so, benefits would have to be cut. That could be as early as 2034, so that's on our horizon, and we need to fix it. Fortunately, there's a very, very easy fix, and it's a very, very fair fix. You take what lower income workers and middle income workers pay into Social Security and Medicare, and you make high income workers pay the same amount. At the moment, it stops a little over $160,000. Now, my bill would honor President Biden's pledge not to raise taxes on anybody over $400,000. But if you're making more than $400,000, that extra income would pay the same payments to Social Security and Medicare as the first $167,000. And a lot of people hide their income so it doesn't come in as wages. It comes through other corporate devices and ways of shunting money to people. This bill would make sure that if it's money that you're getting to live on, you pay the tax on it, whether it comes in as wages or dividends or distributions or borrowing or whatever it is. So we can do this. The Social Security actuary has taken a look at the bill, and it says that it will extend the solvent life of Social Security by 75 years. Well, guess what? 75 years is how far they look. So it may be more than that. They just don't look more than 75 years. And we have the Medicare actuary looking at the bill now to see how long it would extend its solvency. We have enough division in this country without people trying to attack these twin pillars of our economic security. So I'm going to work very hard to try to make sure this bill gets passed and work through the increasingly quiet but always present and ever more sneaky Republican opposition to shoring up Social Security and Medicare. And I think, as we saw in the Biden State of the Union, if they're really put to the test and the public is watching and they're being called out for not protecting Social Security and Medicare, suddenly they can look very reasonable. With that, let me turn it back over to Michael. Thank him for his leadership of AFSCME, a great organization, and much appreciated, Michael. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse. We did have a couple of speakers that wanted to speak to the importance of the matter that the Senate has taken up in it. This time, I'd like to call upon Roger Boudreau. He's the president of the Rhode Island Public Employees Retiree Coalition. Roger.
Thank you, Michael. I'm here on behalf of John Penorio, who is the Rhode Island Alliance for Retired Americans president. He's not able to join us due to health issues, but I do have a statement from him, which I'd like to begin by reading. And it reads as follows: on behalf of the 4.4 million members of the Alliance for Retired Americans, including more than 22,000 here in Rhode Island, I am pleased to show our support for the Medicare and Social Security Fair Share Act. This legislation accomplishes two critical goals: strengthening the Social Security and Medicare trust funds so current and future generations will receive the benefits they earn, and requiring all Americans to pay their fair share to help ensure retirement security for all. It is frankly outrageous that a person with a job that pays minimum wage contributes a higher percentage of their income into Social Security and Medicare than the wealthiest Americans. Senator Whitehouse's legislation will make sure every American pays their fair share so seniors and people with disabilities can receive the income they have earned and the health care they need. Today, nearly 66 million Americans, 1 out of every 5 households, relies on Social Security's lifetime guaranteed benefits. These benefits are modest, averaging just $1,833 per month for a retired worker, and are essential for millions. The Department of Labor reports that roughly 2/3 of retiree beneficiaries receive 50% or more of their total income from Social Security, and 1/3 of elderly beneficiaries counts on Social Security to provide 90% or more of their income. Strengthening Social Security and Medicare are at the heart of what the Alliance's grassroots members are fighting for every day, and we are grateful to Senator Whitehouse for his work on this critical issue and commitment to older Americans. End of statement. I'd like to add to that, as a vice president to John Penorio and a leader of a number of organizations that represent retirees, public employees in particular, that the Alliance for Retired Americans has acknowledged the incredible support of Rhode Island's delegation, including, of course, Senator Whitehouse. Those acknowledgments have included awards that have been given to them recognizing their 100% voting record on senior issues. I had the honor several years ago to present that award on behalf of the ARA to Senator Whitehouse at a Rhode Island Federation of Teachers and Health Professionals convention. It was indicated that the Biden administration platform, when President Biden was elected, was to expand and improve Social Security and Medicaid, which is what this bill does. It's not the only bill. We're tracking a number of other bills. currently in Congress that are intended to expand and improve Social Security and Medicaid. We're following, and I'm on a national task force to repeal the weapon GPO, which unfairly penalizes public employees who did not participate in their main employment within the Social Security system, but who earn benefits through other employment. Those individuals are penalized through the windfall elimination provision. Generally, 40 to 50% of their earned benefits are reduced because they're getting a public pension, and that public pension comes from employment that did not participate in Social Security. Not that they chose not to participate, their employer chose not to participate. The government pension offset, and by the way, that affects about 2 million retirees currently, and in the future will affect about 6 million more. The government pension offset affects 750,000 people. 80% of them are women, 83% actually are women, whose spouses' Social Security will not be received by them because of the government pension offset, which sets off 2/3 of the spouse's pension against Social Security benefits. So if a spouse's Social Security benefit is $30,000 and the other spouse is making a $45,000 pension, they would receive 0 of their spouse's Social Security benefits. And that's the case for most beneficiaries who are affected by the GPO. We're working hard as the Alliance for Retired Americans with Senator Whitehouse and with others to make sure that the Biden administration platform of expanding Social Security and Medicare is realized in this 118th Congress. H.R. 82 has 289 co-sponsors right now to repeal the weapon GPO. And the Senate, on the Senate side, the sponsors number in the mid-40s at this point. We need to get that to 60, obviously. It comes as no surprise that the entire Rhode Island delegation has co-sponsored those bills on both the House and Senate sides, and I want to thank Senator Whitehouse for that. Sherrod Brown and Senator Collins from Maine submitted the counterpart to H.R. 82, Senate 597, and we're going to be working with them at a press conference that will be held on September 13th on Capitol Hill, at which we will also be holding the National Task Force Repeal Web GPO Advocacy Summit. That will be piggybacked on a press conference that will be led by the bill sponsors on the House and Senate side, and we look forward to working with Senator Whitehouse to accomplish the Biden administration's platform in expanding Social Security and Medicare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I wanted to call on the next speaker, a dear friend of mine and Council 94's. He is the president of AFSCME's retiree chapter and a great friend of all working people, my good friend Michael Conley.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. I represent 2,000 retirees, state and municipal, and 100% of them depend on a significant portion of their retirement security for Social Security. Anything that can be done to strengthen Social Security, as Senator Whitehouse is trying to do, cannot be anything but welcome by our people. The second pillar is Medicare. I had a personal experience with that. I'm just returning to activity. I was in a hospital about a year ago. I had a little problem with my ticker. I would have been bankrupted. Remember that, if any of you have gotten Social Security, they give you a little synopsis of the bill, even though, I mean, I guess it's a fraud preventative. I didn't have to pay it, but I think the cost of my hospitalization and rehab was between $150,000 and $200,000. I was a municipal. I couldn't have done that. Medicare brought me through. And Mike and I in leadership, we hear from people all the time. And this story doesn't change. It's just vital. Senator Whitehouse's remark did trigger one thing in me. a memory. When I was in grad school, I had a professor that used to always say, "Don't you just love it when a millionaire tells you you've got it too good?" I sort of think opposition to improving Social Security sort of fits that rubric. So, good luck in your bill, Senator. We're 100% with you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. We did have one other last speaker, another speaker, and she is Toba Wintraub, a member of the Leon Matthews Senior Center. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Talking as a senior, and knowing many seniors, I work at the Senior Center in Pawtucket. I also work with Blackstone Valley ARC and adults with disabilities, and I realize how important both Social Security and Medicare are to a very large population. For 20 years, I've been thinking about why does a friend of mine who told me 20 years ago, who worked for GM in Detroit and was making $200,000+ back then, said, "You know, I'm finished paying my Social Security bills by April." I said, "What?" And I say that to people and say, "No, you're wrong. No, everybody pays. Everybody." And I say, "No." And I'm pleased that finally we'll get something happening where everyone will pay their fair share, so that as we get older, we don't have to worry about paying the bills, about going to the hospital, about those things that make a difference no matter whether or not it's ourselves as seniors or our parents. It will make a difference. So thank you, Senator Whitehouse. I think it's about time that we did this. Thank you.
Thank you again, Toba. And again, thank you for everybody that is here this morning. I did want to recognize a few people. And Stacy Smith, she's president of one of the locals. She happened to be here with her members, and I'm very appreciative that she's here. Anthony Peters from Rhode Island College. Matthew Gunnup with a child that has been quiet throughout this whole process. Yeah. And many others. It wasn't no type of question and answer process, but I didn't know if anybody else wanted to say anything. Certainly I'd give you that opportunity, and I will monitor what you're saying. Just kidding. But if anybody did want to say something, I certainly want to close with a thank you to everybody, but a special thank you to Senator Whitehouse, who, as I said at the beginning of this, and I'll say again, my own international keeps a record too, Senator Whitehouse is 100% for working people. And I'm proud of that, and I'm very proud of he's here with us this morning. Thank you.
Although the line of the day was Mike Conley's. Medicare brought me through.
And thank you very much. Thank you all, and that will conclude our little press release for the morning. Thanks all. Have a wonderful day.